Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, the award-winning cannabis news podcast brought to you by VoteProPot.com. Here are your hosts, Phil Adams, Jay Britton, and Andrew McCreadies.
Welcome to another fun-filled episode of VoteProPot-Cast. We're on episode 103, to be precise. We're a man down tonight, right, Andrew?
Yep, Phil's down for the count.
Yeah, Phil's in laying in the sun in Jamaica, the bastard.
Oh.
He's probably sitting on a chaise lounge, sipping some fruity-ass
drinking
drink.
a Red Stripe.
Yeah.
Smoking a big fat one.
Yep. Well, good for him. More power. Do I sound bitter? Bastard.
Well, him and Faye are seeing they're going to Jamaica a lot, and you and I aren't. So
Yeah. So we're sitting here in D.C. in the cold, wet, nasty, dead end of winter. So
yeah. The dead winter is it's a chilling 59 degrees outside.
Could be worse. That's right.
Man,
Could be worse.
I have plants sprouting in my garden.
Yeah, I know.
Flowers.
It's been weird.
I mean, in the middle of February, that's
been a really warm. This global warming thing is awesome. It has been a very mild winter, and I'll take that anytime. So we got some good stories for you here. Is Trump cracking down on state legal cannabis programs? Drew has a story on the 2020 Summer Olympics, drug testing, and CBD. The Kentucky State House votes overwhelmingly in favor of medical cannabis access. We'll debunk yet another CNN fake news story. And we've got these and some more things. And we're going to start off with Andrew. Andrew, what do you got about the Trumpster?
Okay, yeah, the president, as it looks like he just put forth his 2021 budget. And in that budget, he says, we are no longer going to protect states' rights when it comes to medical marijuana. So the feds will be able to, with this new budget, they will be funded to enforce federal law on state organizations, state licensed medical marijuana organizations. So,
well, that's nothing new.
But didn't he say that he was for states' rights when it comes to medical marijuana?
I think you're right. He did say that, but also I think you have to read a little between the lines. And I'm not. Trust me, I'm not a Trump advocate, and I'm not on his side. I'm playing devil's advocate here, and I did some reading into this today. And what he did is he made a statement that had to do with this particular part of the bill. And the way I read it is, I have trouble with it. It's a problem, but it's not something new. Like you see in the press here, they're making it out to be this huge thing. Oh my God, what is he doing? He's going to burn down all this state. Not really. The way I see it, and this is just my take, what the administrators do, same thing. I think Obama did it. Trump's done it every bill for funding bill since he's been in office. Is he's protecting the executive branches. They're flexing their muscles. The administration has never, or Obama's, carried out any kind of major enforcement activities that had anything to do with states' rights. What he's doing, in my opinion, is he's saying, look, there's still a federal law out there. You may not agree with it, but we're not about to acquiesce and give in to states. We still retain the right, if we had to go in and do something. That's what they're saying. But they've never done it, and he's not saying they're going to do it now. There's nothing in there that says...
In releasing the 2021 federal budget proposal, the president has called for ending the existing federal protection that limit the federal government from interfering with state-sanctioned regulated medical marijuana businesses.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
No, it's different from what it has been.
It's not, really. The statement's different. The statement's different, but what the actual fundamentals of what they're saying is not different.
Well, no, it's still federally legal, yeah. But now he's saying before the Obama said we're not going to. Here's the rule: we're not going to give the federal government any money to enforce marijuana laws on existing state-regulated businesses.
Can't use federal funds.
Can't use federal money. So they're dropping that. Now you can spend federal money to go after them.
Right. No, you're right. And that's terrible. It sucks. The question is, why are they doing that?
So would you invest your future all your money and your future, your family into a business that you know a SWAT team can come by and just take from you and lock you up.
Yeah, I would. Because they're not going to. I mean, everybody knows they're not going to. That's not why they're doing it. Okay,
well,
Andrew,
I know. I want to believe you, and I want to agree with that. But what about the guy that when it doesn't happen?
Honestly, take a minute and answer this question. I'll bet you $100 that between now and the end of 2021, not a single raid occurs in a legal state by the federal government. You want to bet me $100?
Oh, I agree with you. It probably won't happen. You're right. I agree with you.
So then you got to back up and say, so why did he do it? Why is it there?
Right.
It's there because the Justice Department is flexing their muscles and saying, we are not giving up our executive power. It's all about power. And this is a fight between the legislative branch and the executive branch. Who has the power? So he's saying, I dare you guys, get off your freaking ass and go pass a law. Go make it legal. Go make it federally legal. Go for it.
So you think that's what he's doing?
I don't know that that's what he's doing. I'm playing devil's advocate, and I'm taking the side, which I do often, which is the opposite of 100% of the mainstream media. I'm saying you got to read all the shit, and I read a ton of shit today on this. 99% of it was exactly what you're saying. There's going to be federal raids on California.
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that, and I don't think they will be because I kind of agree with you. I don't think there will be. But this is the kind of stuff that scares me. This is the kind of stuff that the anti-marijuana people are just inching you in, inching.
And that's a perfect point.
Until one day you go, oh, fuck. You know?
I guess I tend to be more of a pragmatist when I read these things, and I'm very skeptical when I read articles on the mainstream media.
You've been that way since fifth grade.
Yeah, I've always been that way. And the funny thing is here, I'm making an argument, but at the same time, I'm agreeing with you, which makes no sense at all.
Same here.
But no, you're right. And your point.
Well, there's another angle. There is another angle we haven't talked about. They probably stuck it in there just as a negotiating tool. For the budget.
That could be too.
Because someone else going, hey, no, we don't want this. I'll tell you what. We'll take the marijuana thing out if you allow our thing.
That's a distinct possibility, Andrew, and that's happened before. So.
And in the meantime, it's good political fodder, and the people who are against it, he gives them thrills.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's a story to follow because, like you said, if it is simply a tactic to negotiate, then great. What the hell?
That's probably, who knows?
And let's hope that's the case.
One thing I know for sure, I have no clue what really is going on.
That makes two of us.
Really. And honestly, I don't think anyone does, especially the people reporting the news. Some of them do have more facts than us, but really, no one really knows what the hell's going on.
Well, that's not my problem with it. And we'll say this real quick and we'll end this segment. My problem is that there's always an agenda on one side or the other.
And both sides.
And both sides,
two agendas going after each other.
Yeah. And every story that I've read is an agenda story that Trump is going to ruin pot. And I still believe, I hope to believe that him personally, and I don't like the guy, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending him. I still believe that he's fighting for states' rights. He believes in it and that he would sign a bill, the federal bill passed. But
I understand that. And I kind of agree with that. I said, I could see him doing it. I could see him signing it.
Yeah. But it begs the question, why did he make the statement? Why is it in there? Why did he shut the fuck up? What? Yeah,
well,
that's the question.
I'm not even going to try to understand the mind of our president.
Good luck
or
with
any politician for that matter. Really, I really don't. I don't get him.
You got that right.
Thank you for joining us for Vote Pro Podcast. If you enjoy the show, we'd love to hear from you. Send us your thoughts at VoteProPot.com/contact or send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com and please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to be part of the show, call our message line at 240-257-2441. Tell your friends about us and be sure to like, follow and share us on social media. Just go to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and Twitter and do a search for Vote Pro Pot. Now, back to the boys.
All right, let's move on to Kentucky. Members of the Kentucky House of Representatives voted by a margin of more than 2-1 in favor of legislation, House Bill 136, which facilitates medical cannabis access. So that's a good thing, right, Drew? I don't know. It is till you read between the lines. Okay, let's say this. Normal is like very positive about this, so that gives me hope. But when I read further into the plan, it's like you have said a million times, the devil's in the details. Then this plan, first of all, there's two issues. One, it's probably not going to pass the state Senate because of the senators in Kentucky are just very anti. And two, it's a shit bill, in my opinion. You can't smoke weed. It would still be against law to smoke it. So if you get a card and you get permission to get medical cannabis, it's going to be edibles, tinctures, no smoking. They're very limited on what edibles they can have. Nothing that's attractive to kids. So it's one of those bills. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. The interesting thing is they did a study recently, survey in Kentucky, and over 90% in the survey were pro medical cannabis in their state.
Big time.
So that's why this happened, because it's got the politicians shaking in their boots. That
we've got to give them at least medical, yeah.
Right, and the politicians are going, well, how big a topic is this for my voters coming into the ballot box? Am I jeopardizing my reelection if I go against this? So it's another state that you and I would have said 2 years ago when we started this podcast. No fucking way. Kentucky?
Oh, yeah, no way, Kentucky.
Right. Not going to happen.
Although, Kentucky was the heart of the hemp belt.
That's right. It absolutely was. Absolutely.
And have they decriminalized? They haven't.
Kentucky, no. Not that I'm aware of.
So actually, last week we said something wrong. We're saying how people were decriminalizing and then going to medical. That's not really true. Sometimes they go to medical, then they decriminalize.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true.
Which, quite frankly, I think might be more often. I think we were wrong last week. Anyway.
Really? Okay. Yeah. We'll have to look into that. That's a good point. I don't really know.
But anyway, see what Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma's example where they were trying to discuss it with the legislature about a medical marijuana program, and they were saying, oh yeah, just the worst program wasn't even good enough for the legislation in Oklahoma. So they said, the pro people said, well, we're just going to do a ballot initiative. So they did the ballot initiative, and then the legislature came back and said, well, you passed ballot, but we're going to set it up the way we want to set it up. And the powers to be said, no, you don't. They did the ballot initiative, and it's what the people want. So sorry. So now they have this friggin' great medical marijuana program in the state of Oklahoma, and it's friggin' booming, and it's awesome. It's one of the best in the country. And all those politicians, I'm sure, are crying.
Yeah, it's funny how you're seeing this kind of movement through the South, the last place you'd expect. So
So is that going to happen in they don't have ballot initiatives in Kentucky, so I don't know how this is going to play out.
Well, that's why but the legislators already voted overwhelmingly in the House, so we'll see what the Senate does. And it's going to take some negotiating and back and forth.
One thing that is happening since we started VoteProPot, the action, the movement of legislation on the state level is just freaking booming everywhere.
Yeah.
Every day you turn around, someone's doing something, whether it be expungement or decriminalization or medical or adult use or what have you. Now, California is going to be passing legislation concerning their medical industry for years to come, I think. I mean, it's just...
Well,
they started it and they're still not done legislating it.
Right.
So what does that say about all the other states?
Well, you go to the normal website and they have a really good accounting there of what's happening in states from a legislative standpoint. And yeah, you're right. I mean, 5 years ago, you'd go there and there'd be 10 bills. And now there are hundreds of, like you said, place, oh my God, it's amazing. So we shall follow Kentucky and we'll keep you posted.
Well, speaking of bills, there's HCR 2045 in Arizona. It's a medical marijuana act. And breaking it down, let's say, it says that it's establishing the medical marijuana classification of transaction privilege tax and levies a tax on 5% of the tax base of that classification. So they want to add a 5% tax to it, to medical. Okay. So, okay, that sounds
I can live with that.
Okay.
I can live with that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, but why are they, adding this to the tax? And they're using it for, and I quote, for marijuana research studies on the safety and efficiency of using medical marijuana for procedures and for the side effects of marijuana use. Okay, so they want to find out, the side effects.
Do some
and how
research.
good it is.
Nothing wrong with that. No,
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
That is until you get to the part that it says, with a specific focus on relationship between marijuana use and schizophrenia and the correlation between marijuana use and violent behavior.
Please.
So here's the clincher.
Really?
Then the real clincher is that it prohibits a registered nonprofit medical marijuana dispensary from dispensing medical marijuana with the THC level of more than 2%. That's the other thing the bill says.
Oh,
by the way,
God.
You can't have more than 2% THC.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a defined print, right? By the way, you can't have any weed with more than 2%. What is the point of that? So it's hemp.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So that's another shit
So to
law.
summarize, the HCR 2045 goal is to tax medical cannabis patients 5% for a study on schizophrenia and violent behavior in marijuana. And to completely gut the American Medical Marijuana Association's, goal by adding a 2% THC limit, which is ridiculous. That's like going, we want tomato plants that only have 5 seeds. Okay, from now on.
Yeah, right.
Tomatoes that only, yeah, it's like, okay, you're going to have to rewrite the genes of all these plants. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
So if you're in Arizona, be aware.
Right.
That's what's going on.
So the mastermind behind this is Representative Russell Rusty Bowers. Now, he is a member of the House, and he's using a book. He's referencing a book called Tell Your Children, and it's a book about the evils of medical marijuana, which is like, it seems to be written by the same people that wrote Reefer Madness. I mean, really, it's that ridiculous.
So this is a kid's book?
Well, no, it's a book of Tell Your Children about the evils of marijuana.
No.
And this whole bill is based on this one book.
So you read this to them at bedtime like you do Everybody Poops? Or...
Well, it's not a child's book, but it's like, it's a book about two parents about informing these parents about the evils of marijuana to make sure their children, stay away from it.
He sounds like a winner.
Right. So, and it's like a old white guy in his 70s, that just, you could tell he's just bitter. I mean, he is so, but he grew up in this. This is like, well, we're offending everything he believes to his fiber. He really believes that marijuana, you take one hit off it, you're going straight to hell.
And you're going to be a heroin addict.
And you're going to murder your family, And
their whole Reefer Madness.
He really believes that. He must,
So get rid of
So that's
this
what we
guy.
got. Well, see, people like him, they're dying off. I hate to say it, People that are this angry.
That could be a good thing.
That are this angry about it, if you look at them, they're always older white guys.
Yeah, that's true.
That's sad. Because I'm an older white guy, and I don't feel that way.
Me either, brother. All right, got one from you here, an article at a Hemp Industry Daily. You brush your teeth, right, Andrew?
Occasionally.
Okay. Yeah. Once a month, whether I need it or not.
Yeah, I only got one left, but yeah.
Colgate is acquiring a brand with a new CBD line of toothpaste, mouthwash, and lip balm. Oral hygiene giant Colgate Palmolive is joining the ranks of the major U.S. companies entering the hemp and CBD space. Now, Colgate's huge, dude, right? I mean,
yeah,
they're big. So they're purchasing this company, which its primary products are a broad spectrum hemp oil and hemp extract incorporated into toothpaste and other beauty products. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I pulled that one out. Just, as we see, in the business side, we see these companies getting into these sectors, jumping into cannabis sectors one way or the other. So it kind of leads me to like, when we do go nationally legal for, marijuana, let's say, THC, man, it's going to be every fucking. These companies are lining up and getting poised to.
Well, they're ready, but see, they're prepared. They already have the system to market and distribute nationally.
Right.
So once they can, and with a CBD product, they can do that. See, this is really shrewd of them because this is one of the few things that they can actually get into because they're getting into the CBD, health and beauty. They're not selling any food. They're not putting any. Because the FDA is so coming down on the hemp and CBD farmers about processors about adding it to food products. So, but you can put it in health and beauty stuff.
No,
So,
okay. Yeah, right.
And toothpaste, and I think toothpaste is like, you're not eating it.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of, I was going to say, it's kind of a borderline. You put it in your mouth, but you don't swallow it.
If you're taking CBD drops for anxiety or cream for psoriasis, why can't you use it for brushing your teeth?
Brushing your teeth, and they're coming out with a mouthwash and some other products. So,
that's a great idea. And
it's awesome.
It also proves that this is a serious industry. It's here to stay.
Exactly.
CBD especially.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, you see these little startup companies that are selling this stuff. So you imagine Colgate is looking at these and going, "Shit, these guys are selling some stuff, man. They're moving some product. We got to get in on this." So,
all right,
there you go.
This is the American dream. It's a perfect example of it. You got to start a little company, and then Colgate comes in and buys you up, man.
Buys your ass up
because you don't get bigger than Colgate. There isn't. And when it comes to their segment of the market, they pretty much own it.
Well, congratulations to Hello Products. That's the name of the company that Colgate's purchasing, and they're the ones that have the oral care products. They're based out of New Jersey, so there you go.
If the Olympics in Japan are going to be held, if the coronavirus doesn't cancel them, they are now allowing the Olympic athletes can now use CBD. It's no longer on the list of banned substances.
Wow. Yeah.
So here's my question. And so what happens because you're taking a CBD product that's going to be almost all of them have some level of a microdose of THC. So you will test positive for THC, but it's going to be a really small amount. And also, is THC a performance enhancing drug? Really?
I wouldn't think.
Yeah, really.
The only performance that enhances for me is couch lock, watching, like, binging on Netflix. But no, as far as like actual athletic.
Great marathon runner, but he got lost. Took a wrong turn. Well, But the thing about CBD, which is really great, I think this is great, because what happens when you use a cannabis product like that, or even cannabis really, supposedly you get better workouts because you don't feel the pain and the burn as much as you do without it. So you get a greater workout. So you get more. You go through a little bit more burn than you would have without it. So all these people were saying, "Yeah, man, CBD is great for my workout." So I don't know, man. Maybe it is a sort of, I don't know if it's not a performance enhancing drug, but it's a workout enhancing. You get a better workout with it. So
I wouldn't know, but I'll take your word for it.
So does that mean they're going to be the Olympic, the Olympic Village is going to reek weed?
Probably. Well, that's the next question. What about THC? They're still testing for that, I guess.
Well, that's the whole thing. I don't know.
How can they? I mean, if they're taking
they got to let it. I think when they say, because the article I've read didn't say anything about THC.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how that evolves. Because, I mean, we're only talking, it's only a few months away. I mean, what's that, in June or July?
6 months away, yeah. 6 months away.
So
it's like in the end of summer, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, let's do this CNN thing. I didn't mean at the beginning to sound like I'm picking on CNN, but what this is, and I actually got this off of Cannabis.net. Tom Bacchus wrote this really good piece, kind of taking apart an article that CNN had on their website. So the CNN article, the byline is, marijuana use is rising sharply among seniors over 65, comma, study says, comma, and there are serious risks. So the issue that Tom, who wrote the article, takes is the serious risk part. If you dissect the article that CNN referenced, which is like a study, like an article about the seniors, what you find is there's nothing in the fucking article about risk, or very little. It's not what the article is about. Yet CNN uses that in their byline to get, clicks, to get people to jump on board. Not only that, he points out, and I say this is Tom. He points out that the article is filled with grammatical errors and problems, but the point is the article that it references has nothing to do with risk. It talks about statistics and how many more people over the age of 65 are trying cannabis for multiple ailments, whether it's, chronic pain, we've talked about this, arthritis, nausea, so many different people who are on heavy drugs, like for cancer treatment, use it for nausea. We know it works for all this stuff. That's what the article's about. And it gets into percentages, that something like, here it is, in 2006, 0.4% of seniors over 65 reported using marijuana products in the past year. That number, in 2005, it went up to 2.4%. That's a huge increase.
Right.
And in 2018, it doubled again to 4.2% of people over 65 using weed. So it's hugely common. The only reference in the whole article that had anything to do with risk was for elderly folks who were on one specific blood thinning drug. And even that, it didn't say it was a risk. It said there were some worrisome findings and they're doing studies. And so my point to this story is not to beat up on CNN or anybody else that does an article, the Post or whoever. It's that be careful when you read these articles. And why couldn't the article just say, hey, a lot more seniors are using cannabis to treat their ailments? No, they had to say it's highly risky. And it's not. There's nothing in the article that states that.
Well, if you're on this one medication.
Right.
And we're not really sure. It could be risky.
That's what it says. It could be. They're still studying it. So anyway, off my soapbox.
I'm on some of those medications. They're blood thinners.
Right.
And,
you are. Yeah.
And from what I understand, it's really CBD, not really THC. So it's not really medical cannabis. It's these CBD products.
Yeah.
Massive amounts of CBD.
Faye brought that up on one of our shows, that there were some studies being done about a possible conflict or issue between the two. So,
isn't it sort of ironic? The one compound in cannabis that they made legal is the one that kind of you might have a little bit of problems with.
Really,
if you isolate it. Hey, well, thank everyone for tuning in this week to another episode of Vote Pro Podcast. Now, next week we'll have Phil back, who's normally our MC and comment. What would we call Phil?
Yeah.
Besides Knucklehead.
Asshole.
Knucklehead.
Yeah, it was a great show. We had fun despite not having Phil here. And
well, he'll be back next week.
And we hope you reach out to us. Go to VoteProPot.com. Send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com. We have a message line. We need y'all to call our message line. Nobody calls our message line. 240-257-2441. And we ask that you jump over to lastprisonerproject.org. Take a look at their info. And if you can spare a few bucks, throw it their way. It's a fantastic organization and cause, and we're behind it 100%.
And there's so much going on in the cannabis world that, obviously we can't even scratch the surface on our podcast. So we try to share a lot of interesting information on our social networking platforms. So please go to LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and do a search for Vote Pro Pot.
Lock me up, find me good, label me a menace to your quiet neighborhood. I don't grow no plants, the state says I can't. That's not freedom, freedom, that's the point. Smoke a bowl, I roll a joint, do what I want. If I hurt nobody, that's the point. And if I want to get high, why shouldn't I? That's not freedom, freedom, that's the point. Decide what's best for you and me. Smoke a bowl or roll a joint. Do what you want if it hurts nobody. That's the point. So let's get high